Oh man, poor old Leatherface. You can't get your chainsaw up anymore? Starts to happen with man of your age. Hey guys, thanks so much for clicking on this video. My name is Chris. I hope we got tons of Texas Chainsaw Massacre fans out there today because we have huge updates concerning the new reboot that is set to be coming 2021. Possibly might be getting delayed because unfortunately today was supposed to be the first day that this new reboot was gonna start shooting if the Rona never happened. Nonetheless, we have a bunch of new details concerning this movie on how they're gonna portray Leatherface himself in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the main characters, what the story is gonna be about. That is so much more, guys, so I need you to leave your opinions down below. How do you feel about the portrayal of Leatherface this time around in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Are you digging the details or are you really upset with them? But regardless how you feel, leave a like in hopes that this will be the first Texas Chainsaw reboot that won't suck, because man, we've had some stinkers the last couple of years. Alright, so this information is being brought to us by the Illuminati, who has the exclusive on the details for this Texas Chainsaw Massacre reboot, and this site actually seems to specialize in casting details. Whenever a movie or TV show is in production, they seem to get the details on what the character descriptions are and what the plot will be for that movie. And like I was mentioning, yes, they were getting ready to start the cameras rolling. They were planning to do it today so they could have this movie ready for us come summer of next year. Hopefully we'll be getting things back to normal pretty soon and productions can start rolling on a lot of things, because Scream 5, the Scream reboot that I just did a video on yesterday, was also supposed to start shooting this summer. Oh man, let's focus on the good news. So if you don't know too much about what's going on with this Texas Chainsaw Massacre reboot, it is being produced by Fed Alvarez, which is a great name in horror. He's the man who did the remake for Evil Dead and also did the fantastic horror film Don't Breathe. The man has a real talent for crafting a unique horror story. It sucks that he's not directing, but the director this time around is by a man named Andy Tohill. Now his most credible movie is entitled The Dig. It's a film I have not watched, but I hear it's very gritty, grounded, dark, exactly what is needed to bring a Texas Chainsaw Massacre reboot to life. The only other details that we knew so far about this movie is that it'll be sort of a reboot sequel where it'll keep the very first Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie canon in the series, ignoring all the other sequels that we've had. And with these details that we're getting today, it seems like it pretty much confirms that that is where the plot is going with this. But getting to probably what will be the most controversial part about this is that Leatherface this time around, the man wielding the chainsaw, is gonna be an old 60-year-old man. This is exactly what they said in their article when describing him. The character is listed as Leatherface, aka Kenny. There have been a few interpretations of the killer in the past, and he has been renamed several times in various origin stories. In this telling, he is 60 years old and characterized as having a big build. He's not a bodybuilder and may even be slightly obese. He also wears church clothes that are too tightly fitted. Continuing on, Leatherface is additionally described as complex. Though he is also listed as a non-speaking role, he primarily expresses himself with gruntal noises that range from a howling belly laugh to a pig-like squeal. His time is spent inside watching TV, which is something that triggers his laughter. It's also revealed that he shields his face in an effort to avoid his picture being taken. Now, those are extremely specific details to just be making up, and some of that stuff really excites me. Let's start off with this time around Leatherface being an old man. It's not really that big of a deal. It's one thing to hear, it's like, oh, this guy who's gonna be our main horror icon is an old dude. Pfft, lame. But if Halloween 2018 proved us anything, is that when you have an icon who wears a mask, the age really don't matter. As long as they're still true to what the character stands for, I'll be completely fine with it. The main reason I also think they decided to make him a 60-year-old man is because they want that original movie to be canon, but at the same time, they want to make this new set of films set in our modern times. Because they've already said that they want to start multiple sequels if this film is a success. But some of the other stuff that throws me for a loop that is mentioned in this description is that he'll go as the name Kenny. Now that just might be what he's listed as the character description, so that things didn't leak out out on who this was, but now that it has and we know who is who knows if they'll actually be calling him Kenny in the movie. It's pretty common in these Texas Chainsaw movies for him to be surrounded by a family, and some of that best stuff was done in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003 and 2006 version, where you had R. Lee Emery play one of the heads of the family that was almost just as terrifying as the Texas Chainsaw himself. So maybe Kenny is the name of this new Leatherface, and that's what they go around calling him. I can't imagine they actually say Leatherface. That's just something the audience says. So I guess I wouldn't mind if they're walking around going, Kenny, get that girl. Do you like my accent? I did good, right? I'm also loving his body description here where they say he has a big build, but it's clear he's not muscular. I mean, if you look at my figure here, this guy has a bit of a belly on him already. And I've always imagined Leatherface to have a bit of a belly. I like how they also mention church clothes because, again, if you look at this figure, I mean, that could all pass for church clothes. He's got a tie. He's got that collar all nice and buttoned. I do find it interesting that he wears tight shirts even though he's obese. I can relate! But aside from being an old man and the name, the other thing in here that's really going to differentiate this version of Leatherface is it looks like he has a bit of a personality to him when they mention that in this movie he'll be having sort of pig-like laughs, that he enjoys watching TV. I think they're gonna add this characteristic to Leatherface that makes him almost sort of a goofball, but in a really creepy way, if that makes sense, because I can't remember in any of the Texas Chainsaw movies where Leatherface is literally laughing or sitting down and watching TV. He's usually just this silent dude who just follows orders. Adding this bit of personality to him I think will be nice because it shows he's not all dark. He enjoys laughter, but he also enjoys a chainsaw to the back of people. Now, we don't know much about the family that'll be attached to this new Leatherface. We only get one character description, and she's being named as Mrs. MC. Girl gonna bust rhymes with Leatherface? This is my kind of movie. But as it said here in the article, Mrs. MC, she is 70 to 80 years old and seems to actually be a warm, honest lady who has fostered abandoned children for decades. They are casting all ethnicities for Mrs. C, who despite having a positive outlook, is on the verge of being evicted from a rural Texas home. Again, really interesting choices for this new family because usually Leatherface's crew or family members are sadistic, weird people. I still can't get the image out of my head of the main family member cutting off his own relative's legs just because he got a scratch on them. Like, that was some traumatizing stuff. And it's also weird that this lady raised Leatherface because she sounds very nice, sweet, honest, but that line at the end where she's this close to losing her home in Texas, that'll make anybody do some crazy stuff. And so if Leatherface going out there and stealing money and doing whatever it takes to keep their home, she might just put a smile on her face and act like nothing's happening. Now, as far as the story goes, there are some familiar beats here to the original. From the character description, it's listed as Melody and Driama are the two main characters of this movie. The older sister, Melody, is a 25-year-old San Francisco moneymaker who drags her young teenage sister with her to Texas on a business trip out of fear of leaving her alone in the city. On the other hand, Dramira is an amateur photographer and should be noted is wheelchair-bound and presumably disabled. The film is seemingly setting up a whole new mythology and placing the two sisters, the city girl and the other special needs, in a rural country. Now, I mentioned elements from the original movie being thrown in here, and it's that right there of a person strapped to a wheelchair, because there was a person in the original Texas Chainsaw who was in a wheelchair that really tried rolling away from Leatherface himself, but just got a chainsaw to the stomach. It's an interesting dynamic whenever you add a handicapped character in these movies, because then it solves all sorts of problems, like someone being in a wheelchair is just not that mobile, not able to run away, getting stuck in places, adding to our suspense. I do just hope along that these two girls bring a couple of friends along so that we have a high body count in this movie, because for right now, it just sounds like it's these two girls, and I just want to see Leatherface chop some people up. And I gotta be honest, it does sound a little cliche. City girls go into a country area in Texas and they meet a psychopath. Or it could just be them setting up some sort of social commentary in our area of these city girls, oh, rich, who go to this poor place, and oh, two worlds collide, metaphors, and Yeah, all that nonsense when I really just want to see some people hacked up with a decent story. But I'm not trying to be too much of a negative Nancy. This all sounds really interesting to me. I like the new direction. Whenever you do these reboots or these new fresh sequels, you gotta keep it exactly that, fresh. You gotta make it new, different. You can't just be copying what the last movies did over and over. I hope this time around whatever they set up sticks and resonates with audiences so that we can continue to get more movies. There was a mention here that Leatherface is going to be getting a new mask, but that's pretty obvious to me because every Texas Chainsaw movie he looks completely different. I wonder if it'll be a mask from a man or a mask from a female because he's done both. If he'll be putting makeup on his face, maybe exploring that side of Leatherface where he likes to dress up like a lady. There's something going on there we never addressed. I'm really digging these details for the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre reboot. This sounds like a really cool horror movie, but I want to hear from you guys. What do you think of all these details with Old Man Leatherface? That would actually be a great title for this movie, but it'll just probably be called Texas Chainsaw or something like that. Let me know down below your thoughts. Don't forget to leave a like. Be sure to also subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at 3C Film Review. As always, I'm Chris. Take care.